Welcome to Stairway to English. Here, every story is more than just English practice. It's a lesson for your heart and mind. If this message touches you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps this channel grow and keeps the light of motivation alive. Episode 1: When the Light Fades Inside. There comes a time in life when everything starts to feel heavy. You wake up in the morning and the world feels gray. The things that once made you happy no longer bring any joy. Your energy is low, and even small tasks seem impossible. You start to ask yourself, what's the point of all this? This feeling has a name: burnout. It's not just about being tired, it's about feeling empty, disconnected, and lost. Burnout doesn't happen overnight. It grows quietly, like a shadow. It starts when you push yourself too hard for too long, working without rest, giving without pause, trying to please everyone. You tell yourself, just a little more, just one more day. But slowly, your mind and heart begin to run out of strength. You stop feeling excited. You stop caring. And one day, you realize that your inner light, the one that kept you going, has started to fade. Many people think burnout is a sign of weakness, but it's not. It's a signal, a message from your soul telling you that something needs to change. Burnout is your mind's way of saying, you've been carrying too much for too long. It's time to rest. It's time to heal. Listening to that message is not failure. It's the beginning of understanding yourself again. When you are burned out, your thoughts often become dark. You might feel that nothing matters anymore. But even in this darkness, there is something beautiful. It's a chance to rebuild. Sometimes life has to break us down so that we can see what truly matters. Burnout can be the first step toward rediscovering purpose, not the old kind that's about achievements or others' approval, but the quiet kind that lives inside you. If you're feeling lost, the first step is simple. Stop running. Take a breath. Let yourself rest. You don't have to fix everything today. You don't have to have all the answers. Just allow yourself to feel. Sometimes the greatest act of courage is to pause and admit that you're not okay right now. That's not weakness, it's honesty, and it's the beginning of recovery. Try to notice the small things again: the sound of rain, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the laughter of a friend. These tiny moments are pieces of life that remind you that beauty still exists, even when your heart feels tired. When you start to see these small details again, you slowly begin to feel connected to yourself, to others, and to the world around you. Healing from burnout isn't about doing more. It's about doing less, but doing it with meaning. It's about slowing down, taking care of your body, and allowing your mind to rest. Read something that brings peace. Walk without purpose. Breathe deeply. Speak kindly to yourself. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are human, and humans need time to recover. One day, you will look back and realize that burnout wasn't the end. It was a turning point. It was the moment your life whispered, "You've been living for everything except yourself. Now it's time to come home." And you will start to rebuild, one small, gentle step at a time. Because even when the light fades inside, It can always be rekindled. All it takes is patience, kindness, and the belief that meaning is not something you find, it's something you create. Burnout may have taken your energy, but it doesn't have to take your hope. Deep down, your light is still there. It's waiting for you to notice it again. Episode 2: The Weight of Expectations. Sometimes the heaviest burden we carry is not on our back, but in our mind. It's the silent pressure to always be more, to achieve more, to look better, to stay strong, to never fail. Society tells us that rest is laziness, that slowing down means losing. From a young age, we learn to connect our value with our results. We start believing that we are only enough when we are doing something extraordinary. But this belief slowly builds a prison, the prison of expectations. Burnout often begins here, behind the mask of perfection. You try to meet every expectation from your job, your family, your friends, even yourself. You say yes when your heart wants to say no. You work late because you fear disappointing someone. You hide your tiredness because the world praises strength, not vulnerability. But over time, this constant pretending takes something from you, your peace. When your whole life becomes a performance, you forget who you really are. You start to feel like a machine, efficient, productive, but emotionless. The truth is, no one can live this way forever. Humans are not made for endless doing. We are made for being, feeling, connecting, breathing. When you measure your worth by external standards, you lose connection with your inner world. That's when burnout quietly arrives. The weight of expectations doesn't always come from others. Often, it comes from inside us. The voice that says, I should be stronger, I should be happier, or I should have achieved more by now. This voice may sound helpful, but it's cruel. It keeps pushing you forward without letting you rest. It tells you that slowing down means failure. But slowing down isn't failure. It's wisdom. It's your soul asking for balance. Think of nature. Trees don't grow all year long. They rest in winter, gather strength, and then bloom again in spring. That's how humans should live too. There are seasons for growth and seasons for rest. The problem begins when we try to grow without stopping. Burnout is simply the winter we refused to have. Breaking free from expectations begins with honesty. Ask yourself, what am I really chasing? Are you working for joy or for approval? Are you trying to live or just trying to prove something? When you start answering these questions, you'll realize that much of what exhausts you is unnecessary. You've been running after things that don't feed your soul. Sometimes we keep pushing because we fear what will happen if we stop. We fear losing status, success, or even identity. But what if stopping is not losing? What if it's discovering? When you pause, you begin to see that life's meaning is not found in being perfect, it's found in being real. And real means sometimes being tired, sad, or unsure. That's not weakness. That's life. You don't have to meet every expectation. You don't have to please everyone. The truth is, no one expects as much from you as you do from yourself. The moment you realize this, the weight begins to lift. You can breathe again. You can say no without guilt, rest without fear, and live without apology. When you free yourself from the pressure to always be enough, you start to rediscover who you are beyond your roles, beyond success or failure. You start to notice what truly matters: kindness, presence, connection, and peace. These are not achievements, they are experiences. Imagine standing on a mountain, carrying a heavy backpack filled with other people's expectations. You've climbed so far, but you're exhausted. Now imagine setting that bag down. You breathe, you look around, and for the first time, you see the view. That's what happens when you let go of the pressure. The world doesn't fall apart, it opens up. Life isn't meant to be a constant race. It's a journey of discovery. When you stop living for others' approval and start listening to your own heart, you'll find that you were never truly lost, just buried under expectations that were never yours to carry. Freedom begins the moment you choose to value peace over perfection. And that small, brave choice is the first true step toward healing your burnout and finding meaning again. Episode 3: Rediscovering Yourself in the Silence. When burnout takes over, the world becomes loud. Even silence feels heavy. Your thoughts never stop. They move like waves, crashing one after another. What's wrong with me? Why can't I feel happy? Why can't I keep going like before? These questions repeat, and each one makes you feel smaller. You might look around and see everyone else moving forward, smiling, living, and you wonder why you can't. But what you're feeling is not weakness. It's your soul's quiet cry for space. Sometimes the only way to find yourself again is to stop running, to sit in that silence and listen. It's not easy. Silence can be uncomfortable, even painful. When the noise of daily life disappears, you are left alone with your thoughts, your fears, your truth. But in that quiet space, something powerful happens. You begin to hear your real voice again, the one you've ignored for too long. Rediscovering yourself is not about becoming who you were before burnout. It's about meeting the person who is emerging after it. Because when everything breaks down, your routines, your ambitions, your illusions, what's left is real. The person who rises from that silence is stronger, softer, and more honest. You learn that you don't have to be perfect to be worthy. You just have to be present. The process of rediscovery begins with small steps. One day, you might take a walk without your phone and truly look at the sky. Another day, you might sit in a quiet room and breathe deeply for 5 minutes. Or you might write your thoughts in a notebook, not to fix them, but simply to release them. Healing begins when you allow yourself to be, without expectations, without judgment. You'll start to notice small sparks returning. A song that makes you feel something, a conversation that brings a smile, a memory that warms your heart. These are signs of life coming back. Burnout steals color from your world, but meaning slowly returns when you reconnect with yourself. The secret is not to rush. Let the silence do its work. There's a beauty in stillness that we often forget. When we stop trying to control everything, we begin to notice how life keeps moving anyway, gently, naturally. The sun still rises, the wind still blows, the trees still grow. Life continues, and in its rhythm, you can find peace again. You realize that you don't have to fix yourself. You just have to let yourself be. Many people think recovery means going back to their old energy, their old productivity. But burnout changes you. It teaches you limits, it humbles you, and it opens your heart to new understanding. You might not become the same person you were, and that's okay. Maybe that old version of you was living too fast, too heavy, too far from peace. This new version of you can choose differently. You can choose to protect your energy. You can choose to say no when something doesn't feel right. You can choose to rest without guilt. You can choose to build a life that feels gentle, slow, and meaningful. Rediscovery is not about chasing the past. It's about creating space for the present, for who you are now. When you sit in silence, you start to hear what your heart has been trying to tell you for years. You are enough. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply in the process of becoming whole again. That process takes time, but every quiet moment, every deep breath, every small act of care brings you closer. Don't fear the stillness. Inside it lies the truth that burnout tried to hide. The truth that you were never lost, just disconnected. Life's noise made you forget your own rhythm, but it was always there, waiting to be heard. When you finally start to reconnect with yourself, the world slowly changes around you. The same streets look different. The same people feel warmer. Even the air feels lighter. That's not the world changing, that's you changing. You've started to see again, to feel again, to live again. Rediscovering yourself after burnout isn't a dramatic event. It's quiet, patient, and deeply human. It happens in moments, in silence, in stillness, in kindness to yourself. Because in that silence, you learn that peace is not something you find outside. It's something you grow within. And once you feel it again, you'll never forget how to return to it. Episode 4: Building Meaning from the Ashes. When life feels empty, it's hard to believe that meaning can return. Burnout leaves behind a kind of silence, not peaceful silence, but the silence of loss. You feel like a part of you has burned away, and you wonder if anything meaningful can grow from it again. But here is the quiet truth. The ashes of burnout are not the end. They are the soil for something new. Meaning in life doesn't appear by chance. It's something we build, slowly, intentionally, from the pieces left after everything else has fallen apart. When you've been through exhaustion, sadness, or depression, you see the world differently. You stop chasing illusions. You begin to notice what truly matters: connection, purpose, kindness, small joys. Sometimes meaning is not found in great achievements, but in simple acts. When you help a friend, listen without judgment, care for someone, or create something beautiful, no matter how small, that's meaning. You don't have to save the world to live a meaningful life. You just have to live with attention and heart. After burnout, your life becomes a blank page. That can be frightening, but also freeing. You no longer have to follow the path others expect. You get to ask, what really matters to me now? This question is powerful because it leads you back to authenticity, to a life that feels real. Meaning often begins where pain once was. When you suffer deeply, you start to see the hidden sides of life, the fragility, the impermanence, the beauty of simple things. Pain softens you, opens you, and if you let it, it teaches you compassion, not only for others, but for yourself. That compassion becomes the foundation of new meaning. There's a story about a forest that burned completely after a lightning strike. For months, it looked dead. Black trees, gray soil, silence everywhere. But then, after rain and time, something happened. Small green plants began to grow. New life appeared in the same place that had once been destroyed. That's how the human spirit works too. Burnout may destroy your old world, but it also prepares you for a new one. Building meaning doesn't mean you must have all the answers. It simply means asking better questions. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of thinking, "Everything is gone," think, "What can I grow here now?" These small changes in thought open big doors in your mind. You might realize that the things you once called important were not really yours. They were expectations, fears, or habits. Now you can choose differently. You can choose relationships that make you feel alive, not drained. You can choose work that adds meaning, not only money. You can choose to value peace over speed, depth over noise. When you start to rebuild, take it slow. A meaningful life is not built overnight. It's built in the quiet moments when you make gentle choices that align with who you truly are. Wake up early and watch the sunrise. Cook a meal and eat it without rushing. Write a letter to someone you love. Listen to music that speaks to your heart. These are not small things. They are the threads of meaning. Sometimes people think meaning must be grand, something the world notices. But real meaning is humble. It's not about being seen, it's about seeing. Seeing life again, seeing people again, seeing yourself again. And as you begin to build this new life, you'll notice something surprising. What once felt like an ending now feels like a beginning. The pain that burned you also cleared the ground for your rebirth. From that emptiness, you can now create something more honest, more peaceful, more you. You don't need to rush toward happiness. Happiness is not a destination. It's a side effect of living with meaning. When you live with purpose, no matter how simple, joy begins to appear naturally. The heaviness in your heart starts to lift. Not because everything is perfect, but because you've begun to live in alignment with truth. So when you look at your life and see ashes, don't turn away. Look closer. Beneath them, seeds are waiting. The seeds of meaning, love, and quiet strength. All they need is your patience and your care. Life can bloom again, even after the fire. And when it does, the flowers that grow will be stronger, deeper, and more beautiful than before. Episode 5. Choosing to Live Again. After the storm, after the silence, after the exhaustion, there comes a moment when you stand quietly and realize that you're still here. You've survived. You've walked through darkness, confusion, and emptiness, and even though you may not feel completely healed, something inside you begins to whisper. It's time to live again. Coming back to life after burnout is not dramatic. It's gentle. It's not about returning to the old version of yourself. It's about choosing to live differently this time. You've seen how fragile energy can be, how fast joy can fade when you forget to care for your own soul. Now, you move forward with more awareness, more softness, and more gratitude. Living again starts with small acts of courage. Getting out of bed when you don't feel like it. Smiling at someone even when your heart is heavy. Going for a walk instead of staying in bed. Cooking a meal. Opening a window. Answering a message. These may seem like nothing, but they are the quiet victories of healing. Each small action says, I am choosing life. You begin to rebuild trust with yourself. You start to believe again, not in perfection, not in endless motivation, but in balance. You learn to rest without guilt. You learn that saying no is an act of love, not rejection. You learn that you don't need to be productive to be valuable. You learn that being alive, in itself, is enough. You also begin to see that meaning and happiness are not things you chase. They grow naturally when you nurture your well-being. You stop fighting against life and start flowing with it. You realize that your worth was never in what you did, but in who you are when you are present, kind, and true. Sometimes after deep burnout, your mind may try to pull you back into fear. Fear of failing again, fear of losing control, fear of feeling tired. But now you know that fear is not a signal to stop. It's a signal to slow down, breathe, and return to your center. You are not running anymore. You are walking, aware of each step. Choosing to live again means learning to trust the rhythm of life, understanding that everything has its time. There will be days of light and days of shadow. But this time, you don't need to panic when darkness comes. You know that it's temporary. You've been through worse and found your way back before. You can do it again. You also start to reconnect with people, not from a place of needing to prove anything, but from a place of honesty. You allow yourself to say, I'm tired, or I need time, without shame. You begin to share your story, and in doing so, you discover something beautiful. You are not alone. So many people are walking the same quiet path of recovery, trying to find meaning after exhaustion. When you connect with them, healing becomes lighter. Living again means seeing beauty where you once saw nothing. The morning light through your window, the sound of laughter in a cafe, the calm of evening air. These are not background details anymore. They are reminders that life still holds softness. And you, even after all the pain, can feel it again. You may not have all the answers, and that's okay. Life doesn't need to be fully understood to be lived. What matters is that you keep showing up, imperfect, uncertain, but willing. Each day you choose to move forward, no matter how small the step, you prove to yourself that your spirit is stronger than your past struggles. There's a quiet kind of power in surviving something that once broke you. You begin to carry that strength everywhere you go. You know now that you can rest without giving up, start over without fear, and love yourself even when things are not perfect. That is real growth, the kind that doesn't need applause or recognition. So when you wake up tomorrow, take a slow breath and remind yourself, I am still here. I am still becoming. Life doesn't need to be extraordinary to be meaningful. It just needs to be lived, honestly, patiently, and with heart. The truth is, the real victory is not in never falling, but in choosing to rise each time. You've fallen, you've broken, you've burned out, but you've also learned, healed, and grown. And now you're ready, not to go back, but to move forward, lighter, wiser, and more alive than ever. You've already found the meaning you were searching for. It's in this simple, powerful choice, the choice to live again.